Welcome to Morningstar. Climate-focused funds span a range of approaches that aim to meet different investor needs and preferences. Today, I'm joined by John William Olsen, portfolio manager at M&G with a long-standing experience in sustainability, to talk about how to align an investment to Paris Agreement. John, there are several ways to align an investment to Paris Agreement. What is your favorite one?
There is. We actually set out to Paris align a couple of our funds back in 2021. So we were amongst the very first in the market to do that. And we tried to do it from first principles. So we sat down and tried to figure out how we could set up a fund so that it would align itself to the values of the Paris Agreement, not just to a set of numbers. But like you say, you have a few different options out there. I think the most prevalent one is to link yourself up to a Paris-aligned index or invest into a Paris-aligned ETF. Obviously, we come at it as active managers. We're running very concentrated funds, but also very active on the sustainability side. And I think that's probably our preferred version of it.
Can you give some example of a company-specific approach?
Sure. So the difference between what we do and what's done on a Paris-aligned ETF is that we don't just align the emissions of the fund so that they decline over time, but we try to make sure that the companies that we invest in are aligned to the Paris Agreement. So the companies are either contributing towards a net zero future by decarbonizing themselves and or being part of the solution. A company on our global fund could be a company like Ball, a company that produces aluminium cans for beverages. Almost half the beverages that are produced in aluminium cans across the globe, the can would come from Ball. And it's a very sustainable form of packaging, and you start to see that spreading into still water now and wine and other things as well. And that's for a reason, because it emits less CO2 than the equivalent plastic or glass bottle. Partly because the company has decarbonized themselves and they use more and more recycled aluminium in their production. So that's become quite a selling point for them. So they contribute both on the product side and through their own decarbonization because they have a science-based target in place.
And are you engaging actively with investee companies? If yes, how do you do it?
Yes, you could say that's probably the main difference from running an active Paris-aligned fund to a passive one, and that's very active engagement. So we have an engagement program where we continuously engage with all the companies that we have on the fund at different stages of that development. Some companies are still working on setting up their disclosure on their emissions, which can be pretty complicated for some companies. We can help and guide them to do that. Once that's done, we want them to put some targets in place so that we can measure and monitor them. We want them to have a strategy in place to get to those targets. We prefer for them to have those targets linked up to some form of incentivization of the management team. And then finally, over time, we can help monitor those companies to see whether or not they're meeting their targets. We typically stay on for a very long time. So our investment horizon is 10 years when we invest in a company. So we're there for the journey, and we can help guide and also push in sometimes the companies towards better targets and towards decarbonization.
Well, John, thank you very much for coming here today. For Morningstar, I'm Sara Silano.